Okay, here we are, the series finale to Series 1 of Waterloo Road. Series 1, Episode 8. You know, just like the modern show, we've got 8 episodes. Although Series 2 is 12 episodes, so in a way I kind of view Series 1 and 2 as kind of one 20 episode run. Just split a bit awkwardly, because that kind of is how it feels to me. Um, Alright, so this one did something that I quite appreciate, and it's something that I love, not just about Waterloo Road, but like noughties sort of British TV or into early teens. And that's like the use of pop songs, and Waterloo Road does it like all of the time. But I think this was the first instance I'd noticed it. Like it may have happened at some point else, some other point during the series, but not to my recollection. So the opening song is Wake Me Up When September Ends, which, given the sort of melancholy situation, it's quite an appropriate song. Um, I always love it when you hear the pop songs. It helps set the mood. It feels very noughties. It's just the TV that I love. Like I can name two instances where the Dog Days by Florence and the Machine plays. So it plays. I think it's the first episode of Series 5. I think it might be after they build that garden mural thing. I think that's what it plays, and like everyone's coming together and all the girls are fighting each other. It also plays fairly recently at the end of Series 15 after Jack agrees to take the job of the school counsellor. As Stella overlooks Waterloo Road and there's optimism, it plays The Dog Days Are Over. So these tunes, they're just like, they help emphasise the scenes. Like if you think of the use of the tracks that James Gunn implements in Guardians of the Galaxy, it helps the sort of flow of the narrative and it helps illustrate emotion and feeling and stuff. It's kind of like how Shrek has an incredible soundtrack, just of, pop culture songs to help sort of sell the mood and sell what's happening within the scenes. And Waterloo Road does it really well. It's actually one of the most, I think, underrated parts of the whole show. Because oftentimes I'll watch an episode and I'll be like, oh, I used to love that song and I just forgot that song existed. And then it would end up on my Spotify and I would play it endlessly for a few weeks. Speaking of Spotify, this podcast is now available on Spotify as well as YouTube. So, as I'm recording this currently, I've put the first 3 episodes on, but I do intend on putting the rest on and then having them align with when YouTube comes out. So I would imagine that by the time this comes out, all of them from the first series should be up there. So that's kind of the play there. And yeah, just the pop songs. Like in the Earl Kelly Falconry episode, it plays 5 Years Time by, I want to say Jonah and the Whale. Does that sound right? Yeah, anyway, plays 5 Years Time. And that was one of the instances where I was like, oh, I love this tune. And then I put it on my phone. Yeah, so that sort of opens, and it's something that the show will continue to do, and it's something that I always enjoy listening to. So Lorna slaps Izzy. That's kind of the catalyst for where their story goes. If Lorna didn't become so unhinged in Series 2, I would say, I mean, it is kind of deserving. From her point of view, she thinks that, like, Tom and Izzy have been sleeping together for weeks when, I mean, they sort of did it once and they were broken up by that point, but it still must be quite horrible. So I do kind of get it, but given how sort of broken Lorna becomes, I think there's a slight edge to it. I mean, I would argue that, like, Tom and Izzy kind of caused her to become like this. But then I think the way that she talks about Tom and their past and stuff this series, and some of the things that she says or does, I think imply that she's always been a bit unhinged. But the situation doesn't help. I mean, I could be missing the mark, but that's always been my sort of reading of it, especially watching it this series. So there's kind of that. Yeah, that kind of sums Lorna up to me. I'm kind of glad this sort of storyline's done now. I don't like the storyline. I mean, I don't really like where it goes in Series 2. I don't like that there's that little arc where Tom and Izzy aren't together, and I just, again, it feels very much like it's stretching it. Like, we'll address it in series 2, but I definitely prefer Tom from series 3 onwards, I think. Don't get me wrong, I do like it when Tom has romantic attachment. I think that him and Davina are probably the best couple, although him and Rose are quite underrated as well. Nothing really went anywhere with Tom and Francesca as much as he may have wanted it to. And then Tom doesn't really have any kind of romance going forward unless I'm wrong. So maybe they just thought, oh, Tom's better off without. But yeah, that's kind of that. I don't like what they do with Lorna in series 2. I don't like the Lorna Andrew little fling that happens. I think it's uncomfortable. It hinders him and Kim's relationship, and him and Kim such a good couple that I think it's an unnecessary roadblock for them, the same way it kind of is for Tom and Izzy. It's like they don't really know what to do with just Tom and Izzy outside of being a couple at the moment, or this whole thing. Like, something I did notice, and it's something which I think has been solely missed throughout this first series specifically, is outside of instances where there's some kind of plot relevance or detail, we don't really see the teachers just teaching the kids. So, like, for example, we saw last episode that Steph was being or was it this one? Maybe in this one, actually. Yeah, I'm going to say this one. Yes, this one. Sorry, I'm getting confused. I've watched these two pretty much back to back. This one had Andrew monitor Steph's class, and she does that cringy song, which is funny, and she makes light of her bum and stuff, and the kids are laughing, and it's like a show and stuff. And Andrew's like, you need to have a lesson plan, you can't be doing this, that, or the other, blah, blah, blah. But we see Steph teach a class, but the only reason that we're witnessing it is because of the greater plot relevance to, Andrew needs to tell her to do this, that, or the other. The easiest way to do it is just throw her in a classroom setting and go wild with it, which is essentially what we saw. Whereas later on in the show, particularly from series 3 and 4 onwards, there'll just be moments where they'll just cut to the different teachers teaching a class. Like, yeah, often it'll tie to the plot and stuff, but sometimes just as a little like gateway or whatever, we just see little snippets of them in the classroom. And I really like when there's just little scenes of them being taught, but it's not like, it doesn't mean too much. Like, to me, it really sells the world a lot more when that happens. Like, it feels that much more believable. It's like, I think the Harry Potter films missed a trick by not just having a lot of the random classes that you see in the books happen, because it makes Hogwarts feel that much more real, like these students are embodying this place. In a similar way that I think Waterloo Road was kind of lacking that. So that's something that I like when that happens, and I wish we had more of it. Let's see, what else? So the actual meeting happens between like Lewis, his mother, and Kim, and it doesn't really go Kim's way. Like, like they want to suspend Lewis for, I don't know, like 15 days, so like 3 weeks, which is ridiculous given what he did, and they all know it. It's that moment that Jack stands up for Kim and is like, she's the absolute best teacher the school's ever had, and if she goes, it'll go to the dogs. I love that speech from Jack. I think it really shows Jack's like leadership skills and how much he values his staff. Like, that is really good. What kind of bothers me a little bit, and it could just be more of a modernistic perspective, I'm not entirely sure. The fact it's Mr. Hinchcliffe who's running this session and basically is a big key role in the factor in whether or not Lewis should be expelled or excluded, whatever you want to call it. Given that it was basically a threat of assault towards a woman and a female member of staff, I feel like it should have been a woman conducting the meeting. I could be wrong, and it could just be like Naughty's values, but I feel like if this was a plot point that happened in the show now, then I feel like it would have been, like, imagine it's the same setup, but instead of it being Jack, you've got Stella. Kim is head of pastoral care, and Lewis has done this. I could imagine it being exactly the same, except it's a woman running the meeting. And if the woman basically is unconvinced by what's going on, I can imagine Stella making a similar speech that Jack did. Like, that's just how I imagine it going. So it just felt a bit kind of off. I did love the resolution to the Lewis plot, and I always will. That Jack basically finds out that Lewis's mother's been running like a scheme and has basically been making fraudulent payments and stuff, and that if word got out, like she would be done for fraud, and that was enough for her to like take Lewis out of school, and Jack did it. And apart from maybe Steve, I think Jack is the only head teacher I could see doing this. It's such a ballsy move, and it did make me laugh when the governor was like, "Oh, you are going to be investigated for this, Jack. Did you really think just putting a teacher was going to cut it?" And it just tickled me. It's such a Jack Rimmer thing to do in such an amazing way. The trial also bothered me quite a lot here. I don't like the idea that Dante was found guilty and then he was let off. Like, I get the argument of he served some prison time, he feels sorry for what he did and stuff. Like, logistically, it makes sense, but it feels like a massive cop-out right at the end. It feels like they didn't want to have their cake and eat it. It feels like, sorry, they want to have their cake and eat it, but it feels like it fell flat at the end. Like, I feel like it should have just been a not guilty verdict, and then Dante walked free. Or guilty verdict, and he maybe serves, I don't know, 18 months or a year or what, like, however amount of time, and then he could just come back in Series 3, and maybe Chloe visits him throughout Series 2 in the Young Offenders Institute. I feel like this just feels like the whole plot was sort of for nothing, so it feels a bit deflating at the end. I'd be interested to know what all of you think in the comments, actually, because to me, anyway, I really feel like it just sort of was a bit meh at the end. Like, what do you think of the verdict? Are you happy with it? Like, I don't know. Just something doesn't quite sit right with me about it, and it just makes me cringe. The other thing I noticed, which I think is quite interesting, and I wanted to discuss it, 'cause it's another thing that I wanted the thoughts from you guys on. So I said towards the beginning of the show, so episode 2, Dante gets arrested. Episode 3, we meet Lewis Seddon. So Dante's going to return to Waterloo Road and will be back in the school setting from episode 1 of series 2. Lewis, who has filled the role of bad boy, has now been expelled. He's not a student anymore. To me, it felt like the writers were too scared to have two kind of sort of like typically bad students at the same time. It feels weird that they couldn't occupy the same space at the same time. Like, we never get to see Dante and Lewis as two students at Waterloo Road at the same time. I mean, the implication is that Lewis would have been in the school when Dante was, but at the beginning, just in the background. But it's weird. It's like, do they not think that they can juggle the two at the same time? Are they just not being brave? Again, it just feels weird. I don't know if they want too much character focus on one. But like, Lewis and Janice were both doing bad things in one episode, this series. It's not like out of the realm of possibility. Or maybe they thought that one would just clearly outshadow the other. Like, I can't quite figure it out. Like, obviously in series 2 we see scenes where like Dante and Lewis interact. But it's stuff like where Lewis invites himself into Dante's house and trashes it. Like, they're not in school together at the same time. So I can't quite figure out why we just don't get both of them together. And I do feel like it's a bit of a missed opportunity, because I feel like there would be some quite strong and quite possibly, if you even wanted it, some comedic scenes, but we just don't get any of that. Which is kind of a shame, because I like both the characters, and I think that either as a team up or whatever, like, imagine like a storyline where, like, so Dante's redeeming himself. Like, the stint in prison is basically the beginning of his redemption arc. And we see it through, like, Dante's not like the bad kid anymore. He still makes some questionable decisions, but generally he's not a bad boy. And then we see as an adult, like, he teaches Ashen to be better and stuff. Like, he's got an arc. But what if, like, in series 2, Lewis doesn't get expelled? Lewis does something quite dodgy towards the end of the series, maybe like try to sell drugs, or I don't know, just something. He's got knives or whatever, and he tries to get Dante to go with it, and Dante sort of does, but then Dante realizes that like what Lewis is doing is wrong, and is basically the reason that Lewis gets stopped. Like, I feel like there's that which they could have done, and again, that could have elevated Dante's character further. But I don't know. It feels like for some reason the two of them can't coexist in the school at once, which I think is kind of unnecessary. When Jack does that sort of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire-esque reveal that the school's being saved, where he's like, oh, you did have jobs, and come autumn, you will have jobs again. Like, that tickled me, and also it was Grantley's smile and reaction to it. And when Jack was like, oh, even you, Grantley, it's just funny. It's good. So it ends with Lewis basically getting some gasoline, knocking Jack out, and trying to light him on fire. So, quite dark. But ultimately he gets stopped by Steph, who uses like a fire hydrant to... Not a fire hydrant. What am I trying to say? Uses a fire extinguisher to stop him. Fire hydrant, not American. To do that. And then like Jack just feels indebted to Steph, and that's sort of where that plot ends. I mean, I'm assuming Lewis just runs away because he's not arrested at the start of the next series, so he's just sort of not there. And then we see the final scene is again Lorna, who the implication is that she kills herself, or at least tries to, but it ultimately doesn't stick. And that's kind of where we leave the series. It cuts there. That's the end. I do think that quite a lot of it was fairly deflating. I think the best sort of arc is the whole school, whether it's going to make it through or not. That probably came through the strongest. I like the resolution to the Lewis and Kim arc. I like it wasn't as simple as Lewis just gets expelled. I like the sort of lengths Jack went to. I think that does a great deal for Jack's character and role. And I like that it sort of elevated Kim and Andrew's romantic relationship forward, as we're really starting to see something blossom now, even if there is that really dumb roadblock in the form of Lorna and Andrew's relationship to come. But yeah, as far as the first establishing series goes, it was all right. I didn't really like the Tom, Lorna, Izzy storyline. I liked the Dante storyline up until the final scene of it, which is where I just think it all falls apart. And again, I'm excited to see what all of you have to say about that. But yeah, gonna wrap it there. And I guess next time you see me, we'll do series 2. Although me and a guest are looking at doing a special episode, so I might have that appear in between. I haven't quite decided yet. It depends on recording sessions, but there will be a special coming. So I think the play is going to be, if I get the special recorded before the upload to series 2, I'll have it sandwiched in between. But if we start doing series 2 episodes, I'll probably just upload it on a Friday or something. So it's kind of there, but we'll see. Well, this has been Waterloo Road Rewind, and I'll see you next season. Have a good one.